Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Abe with MysticGenMara.com, a small town mystic from the middle of Idaho. And tonight, whenever you happen to be seeing this, I would like to offer your elemental energy reading for the month of August for the elemental energy of water. Water covers the zodiac signs of Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. So if you're a Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, or have water high up in your chart, this message is for you. If you've never had your charts read, there is a link in the description to a natal chart through Llewellyn. It's just a general birth chart with all the little signs and symbols, and then there's 10 to 20 pages of a description of what that all means. It's not sponsored or anything like that. It's just a really interesting tool that I put in there so that if you guys never have had one done, you can find one. And the rest of the links are affiliate links, so they do support the channel. But we'll hop into your I-ching hexagram, which I cast these before the videos. And this has never happened before. And I mentioned this in Air's video as well. Air and water have the exact same hexagram. So we'll see what different message comes in for water versus air. But your hexagram is number 56, and that is called the Traveler. And the text states, "The traveler, success in small matters. Persistence with regard to traveling brings good fortune." So it's really talking about there's a time of movement that is occurring here. There are some things that are shifting, and it's really talking about the smaller stuff. You know, the devil's in the details, but it's getting those things out of the way so that you can actually move forward in a bigger way. Got to get your foundation set before you put the roof on, type of a thing. And that's what I'm getting with this. So let's break it down into our individual lines. So our foundation line: trifling with unimportant matters, the traveler draws upon himself calamity. You want to make sure that you're paying attention to the small stuff and actually make it your focus. You don't want to ignore it or just kind of like poo-poo it, because if you do that, down the road things are not going to be as smooth. So you want to make sure you're getting all of your I's dotted and your T's crossed, type of thing. Your second place line: the traveler reaches an inn with his valuables still nestled safely in the bosom of his robe. He gains the loyalty of a young servant. This is talking about you're getting some of your smaller journeys out of the way, and you're taking care of things, you're doing your thing, and you're coming out with your success still intact. And that actually draws people to you because they're like, wait, how are you doing this? Something's different about you. And you are just doing your thing, but it comes to a point where you need to rest, you need to take a break. And this is where things can get interesting, because our third place line: owing to the traveler's lack of caution, the inn is burnt down and he no longer enjoys the young servant's loyalty. Persistence now would lead to trouble. So when we're looking at it this way, that's where, yes, you were doing well until when you would take your break, you had people starting to come around. The loyalty of a young servant comes to you. Excuse me. And that's a great thing. But there's this lack of caution where you get a little frivolous, your ego gets a little too excited, and you slip up, basically making all the rest that you were needing to take worthless, because now you have to rebuild, and now you've lost your support system, kind of a thing. Not all of it, but you've definitely lost the newer ones. So it's one of those things that you want to make sure that you're paying attention to the details, but not letting your ego be like, I'm so much better than everyone else. You're not in competition with anyone else, so stop it. Your fourth place line: the traveler reaches a place where he obtains the money needed for his expenses, yet laments that there is no joy in his heart. This is something that's been coming up in a lot of conversations I've had in the real world, or outside of, internet world. And it's this, yes, you're gonna have your success, you're gonna do the thing, but is it what your heart's actually desiring? Is it what you really want to do? Because if you're making the money and you're doing all the stuff and you're just getting stressed out and miserable, there's no joy in your heart and you're sad about that. So maybe it's time to make some adjustments. Doesn't mean change everything, but when you're focusing on the details and you're making these minor changes, see what kind of ripple effect that's going to have. Because if you're making the changes and your soul is still like, this is so not what I want to do, I'm so not happy, then are you making the changes in the right direction? So our fifth place line: while pheasant shooting, he loses an arrow. In the end, he wins the praise and attains to office. if you've ever been around people who do a lot of hunting, you lose an arrow, that's an expensive loss because usually you'll go collect your arrows. So this is a frustration for him. But in the end, he wins the praise and attains office. So even though he lost an arrow, he did so well that people are responding to it. And so this traveler who is really good at certain things sometimes messes up, which happens, but in the end you still do really well, which is great. And then attains to office. This could be seeking out a promotion because you've done all the prep work. It could be opening the business because you've done all the prep work. It could be proposing to that person because you've done all the prep work. Praise and attain to office. In other words, you're going to get your success. It just might not be the way you originally intended, but that's okay because you learned from the experience, meaning the next time this situation arises, you're going to walk into it with the eyes open. Our capstone, our top line here, a bird manages to burn its own nest. At first the traveler laughs, but then he has cause to shout and weep, as a cow is lost through carelessness, misfortune. So when you are thinking about the burning, you're watching someone else and their situation, the bird burning his nest, is not great. But instead of being compassionate and sympathetic, be like, yeah, I had that happen to me when you burn the inn down. But instead of looking at it in that respect, you look at it like, haha, too bad for them. And then your cow escapes. Okay, the cow is more valuable than the bird's nest, so you actually could lose more by mocking someone else's misfortune than you would if you just pushed forward and paid attention to your own stuff. Who cares about what the bird's doing? It's sad. If you can help, great, but don't mock them, because in doing so, you will lose your cow, meaning you're going to lose a significant portion of whatever it is you built. And that's what the energy of the I-ching is talking about, is there's a lot of things moving for you, water. There's a lot of potential here. Pay attention to the details. Don't let the ego get in the way. And if someone else is dealing with something similar to yours, don't mock them because you made through it on the other side. Because if you mock them, the universe is going to snap back and be like, oh yeah? You think you did it? Well, you're just going to have to learn the hard way, and that's where you lose your cow. So, as we're going forward here, that is something to stay aware of and think about, because those are important messages when we are experiencing life in the normal, everyday, waking world. Because if we are doing the right thing for the right reason, we're not going to make fun of someone who's struggling with something that we've already dealt with. We're going to show compassion. We're going to offer help. If they say no, that's fine, walk away. But we're not going to mock them for that. So, with that, we'll hop into your cards. I read week by week. There's about 4 weeks in August, so we'll just do 4 sets. Each week we look at a guide or guardian, a message from source, and then a little more clarification from the tarot. I read intuitively, so if you see something different in the cards or you get a different impression, if you're up for it, drop it in the comments down below. You never know, you might inspire someone else. With that, while you're down there, hit that like button, subscribe, do all those fun internet things, and we will get you started with your first week, which is the goddess Rhiannon, and your stone is Amazonite. The title is Integrity. So with integrity comes a lot of interesting things. Our card says, you listen deeply for the truth of your heart. You create harmony between intentions, your words, and actions. You make promises that honor your soul based on the wisdom of your heart. You make decisions with courage and boldness. You act with respect for spiritual wisdom. You recognize the power within, which you surrender into inspired service for the greater good. You have the strength of character that you need to live with integrity in your own heart. You emanate peace and grace. Another general definition of integrity is doing the right thing when no one's looking. Because this is really going to be doing is it's those little details, just like the I-ching talks about. So this first week is saying, get back into your morals, your ethics, your code of conduct, the righteous persistence and righteous path, and really focus on the little stuff. Get cleaned up there, because you don't want to trip over a pebble because you're chasing a butterfly. You want to make sure that the path is clean so you can actually succeed. Which leads us to our a message from Source, and it's number 38, the many masks of the authentic self. When we get clear on who we are, we walk with integrity, we step into our authenticity. We step into the truth of who we are. Yes, we have our egoic masks, and we have our work mask, and we have our daily mask, and we have our friends, our spouse, our religious. We have all these different things that we put on to be in different environments. And those are great, but it's not who we are. And that's what this is saying is when you work out the details and you start focusing on the strong foundation built through small steps, you realize more about yourself, and that opens the door to being authentic. Now, that doesn't mean you have to go out and parade the authentic self everywhere. None of us do that. But you can actually influence the world around you with your authenticity. Like when you're at work, you are a different person than you are when you're at home versus when you're at your church, synagogue, or coven. But when you start to really walk with authenticity, the difference between those three people starts to shrink. And all of a sudden it's like, well, this is who I am and this is what I do. And that's when you're in walking with genuine authenticity. But to do that, it also requires integrity. So, your message from the tarot is the King of Spring, innovative, inspiring, wise, and theatrical. That could be fun. A financial windfall, your leadership skills are needed, and an unexpected support to your cause. So you're going to have a windfall this week, this first week of August. And it's a windfall in a way that is supportive of you. It doesn't mean it's going to be a financial windfall. It could be just the fact that doors open up, opportunities start to show up. There is this energy of you're looking at things from a different perspective, which opens doors. And there might be a little bit of the flair for the dramatic, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes it's a little bit of fun to play with some of these different energies, and that's what the King of Spring is saying, is in this first week, if things aren't going the way you want, okay, well, how do you fix it? What are you going to do? Let yourself have those little dramatic moments, so to speak, and really experience the joy of creation. It's not meant to be I must sit here and focus for 12 hours and 32 minutes on this one thing and it's going to be miserable. What are you doing? Switch that up. Have fun with it. Make a game out of it. There's a whole bunch of resources out there. Abraham Hicks books are amazing for that. But get into the flow of having it, making your manifestations enjoyable and your affirmations fun. That way, when you're doing the work, it's not a drudge. You want to do it because it's actually enjoyable. And that's what the King of Spring is going to help inspire within you this first week. Our second week, I'm going to mess this name up, I'm sorry, is Goddess Zi Wang Mu, and the stone is stromatolite. Okay, we'll go with that. And the title is Rare Success. The emanation of your soul is unique and precious, worthy of all effort required to safeguard, heal, and empower its expression. You wholeheartedly avail yourself of the sacred lineage that supports your soul and dedicates yourself to manifest the legacies that inspire your spirit. You trust the greater vision of the universe, universal wishes that creates through you. While doing all that is within your power to do, you surrender yourself to unconditional truth and divine timing and the grandeur of the plan that is unfolding. You are stepping into an energy, water, where you're going to have some very interesting successes. Things are going to fall into place in weird ways that you did not anticipate, and no one else is going to experience. They're going to watch and be like, wait, what just happened? But what I'm feeling with this is it's because of water's ability to look at things from a different perspective. One of the tarot cards that's really related to water is the Hanged Man, usually Pisces with this one. But it's allowing you to see from a different perspective. It's not, this is the only way, because that's not how water works. Water will conform and shape to any environment. They're really good at being chameleons. Cancer's a little more emotional about it. Scorpio's going to fight you over it. And then you have Pisces, who you never know what they're going to do, because Pisces is what they do. They're the last of the zodiac, so they carry everything with them. And so when you're looking at it from that perspective, yeah, there's a lot of things going on here. There's a lot of movement that's being offered to you. It doesn't say you have to take it, but there's offer there. And that's going to lead to a rare success, meaning the success is not going to be like everyone else's. Water, you may start working in a promoted state, like getting a promotion, and all of a sudden you're getting offered something completely out of left field, something you were not looking for, but it just happens to fit the role that your soul is looking for. You might be looking to propose to that person and accidentally bump into someone that you actually have had a huge crush on for years, and they're actually interested. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to look at this. So don't lock yourself into this is the only path, because that's not the way your life works. Your message from Source is number 53, Stranger and Curiosity. Be curious about the future. Be curious about what life is bringing. Get into the mystery. The stranger aspects of life are the ones that are unknown. Doesn't mean you have to go out and, visit with strangers. That can be weird. But that curiosity of what life's coming is opening the door to strange experiences, to new ideas and new concepts, which might be strange to how you normally work. And that's okay, because sometimes we have to be a little more strange or a little more weird to have universe step in and say, you know what, you're willing to do this? That takes courage. Let's do this. So see how the universe works with you in the second week with finding the uniqueness in life. Your message from the tarot is the 10 of Summer, an emotionally fulfilling life with family or friends, raising children wisely, people you can trust. The message I'm getting with this one is this week of tapping into the strangeness, being more authentic, and your rare success, even though things may not go the way you thought. Look what you've succeeded at so far. And look where you're headed with the plans in place. This is not meant to be a mild time for you. This is a time of... I just keep seeing whitewater rafting here. This is a time of maybe turmoil, but if you get into the flow of what's happening, you're going to enjoy it. You're going to realize that you actually are pretty safe, even though there might be some chaos, there might be some ups and downs. That's just how things work. But you're actually headed in the right direction, and your soul recognizes that. And that's where, just like the I-ching talks about, doing the work, but you lament the process because it's not feeding your soul. This is that reminder that you can do all the successes that you want. If it's not for you and your joy, your bliss is not involved in some way, shape, or form, what's the point? When you do things that you love and you're making a good money at it and you're doing that type of thing, it's going to provide for your family. It's going to provide in a way because you're not coming home stressed. You're coming home like, had a great day at work. Everything was so much fun. We did this, we did that. And that carries over into your home. But if you're coming home miserable because your job is just not what you want to do, yeah, it pays good, but you're miserable, and you bring that misery home, is that really success? The answer is no. So that's what the second week is trying to remind you of. Your third week is the goddess Ishtar, and your stone is, oh good grief, astrophyllite, and it's a daring rebirth, which is a pretty card. With radical optimism and unconditional trust, you embrace and embody a new emanation of your higher self. You welcome your innate spiritual capacity for rebirth. With boldness of spirit, you allow yourself to be transformed. And you can say this for yourself, I am willing, I am ready for this to happen. And then you trust in endings as the hallmark of new cycles of grace and fruition in your life. Your soul is luminous and victorious with the sacred power of the phoenix. So when you think about this third week and this daring rebirth, because you've already had a rare success, you're reborn, you're changing things because you're ready for it. The rare success is just the outward expression of that. And in this third week, you're getting the message that your inner world has changed too. That's the daring rebirth part, where, yeah, you've been changing the outside, you've been doing the things, everyone's seeing it, but now you're being called to understand what's going on inside too, because it's not simple. It sounds simple if you watch a video about it, but the reality is when you do this type of work and you are studying and you're growing and you're expanding, it becomes a rebirth experience every time you shift. But this particular month, what I'm feeling is your shift is going to be enough that even you are a little surprised by it, which is great, but that's the energy that's coming up here. Your message from Source is number 43, overflow, overwhelm, and plenty, which is weird because overwhelm would think negative. But this is that energy that's coming in. It's time for you to open the floodgates. You've been putting in the work. You've been doing all the things. What's stopping you? Why is, when you think about your affirmations, you think about your vision boards, when you think about your prayers to God, Source, and the throne of heaven, and yet it's not happening. Why isn't it happening? Okay, time to do some reflecting, water. What's going on? The abundance is waiting for you. It's right here. But what is blocking? What has made this not easy to achieve? And I'm not pointing a finger in the way of it's your fault. But what lesson are you not understanding, or what lesson are we rejecting so that it doesn't come through? There's something and they won't show me what it is because I asked if this is a general reading, but there's something that's been blocking parts of you. And that's where this daring rebirth comes into play, because it's time to be reborn. It's time to cast off the old and move into something different. That might be something minor. It could be something big. Your situation's unique to you. But when we start to understand that maybe there's a shift that needs to occur, that opens the door for the rebirth. That allows the overflow that we've been building in our vortex to step out and really expand forward. So you've got a really powerful month here, which your third week wraps up with the Queen of Spring. Brilliant, loyal, talented, and friendly. Believing in yourself, wonderful people who want to help you. Pardon me. And maintaining a balance between work and home. So this is probably what we're talking about, is when you're not in balanced states between work and home, your work and social life, things like that, things can go a little rough. The Queen of Spring is coming in this third week with this daring rebirth, with this overflow, getting more clear on what we are, where we're at, and who we're going to be. The Queen of Spring wants to say believing in yourself is what's important. And when you do that, you get that clarity of realization. You're going to have the people you need to support you pop in. But it's also saying it's time to have fun with this. Like I said earlier, I think it was in the second week, you can be miserable and, I do this job because I have to. How are you feeding your soul if you're doing the things that you have to do and not the things that inspire you, that uplift you? Yes, we have chores we have to do that are usually not fun. But you can find ways to do that and make it fun. Even when you're doing housework, put on some dance music, put on, a podcast that you really want to listen to. That way you're still enjoying it, but you're shifting the attention from I have chores to I get to listen to my podcast while I'm doing this. And it changes how you perceive it. Then it's not so negative, but that allows for that daring rebirth to occur. And that's what's coming in this month so far, is getting more into the positive side of life in general. It doesn't have to be rainbows and butterflies and unicorn farts, but drag it out of the gutter so maybe you can dry it off and clean it up a little bit. So our fourth week's guide or guardian is the Ascended Master Hilarion, and it's green chrysoprase, and the title is Discernment. You rely upon your inner knowing to perceive the truth beyond appearances. You feel deep within for the truth of divine love within yourself that guides you in every moment. You're inspired by grace, and with perfect timing, you attain the clarity that you need. You feel joyful and supported as you trust the emerging insights to safely navigate your way to higher ground. Your inner eye sees the truth, which faithfully and playfully guides your path. You recognize and are nourished by the supreme vibration of truth. That is the best way to wrap up what we were just talking about. It is time to really get clear on what it is you want to create. Work on the things that show up. Allow yourself to change. Allow the universe to work with you to shift your reality into something and someone that's better. It doesn't mean that you're going to throw off everything. Maybe it's an internal shift. Maybe that rebirth is an internal one where you're shifting from looking at everything from, mud water glasses to maybe some more clear ones, so you can actually see what's going on versus what you perceived was negative. Sometimes what we think is negative turns out to be a positive in the long stretch, and that's not always an easy thing to swallow, but that's what that discernment is offering, is the understanding of what is happening and how it's going to play out in the long term and why you had to go through the steps to get here. Trust me on this one. When you actually go through a situation and you come out on the other side, you look back at it and it's like, that's why that happened. Great, cool. You couldn't have just told me, and Source is going to be like, I tried to tell you, you didn't listen. This was the option B. So that's why you want to get more intuitive, because you can hear that and avoid some of those harsher realities. Your message from Source is number 3, benefactors of grace and generosity. This ties into what the third week was talking about. There's people coming in to support and help you. And when they see that you're putting in the effort on your own, they're going to be like, okay, now it's the time for us to help. It's time for us to step in and support. Just like the I-ching, there's a time of movement. Things are breaking old molds. You're, freshening up the pond, so to speak. And that's where these benefactors of grace and generosity can really help you out, because they are going to be here to support you in ways you didn't expect. You might be trudging along thinking, I have to do this, I have to do that, and you're ignoring things. You're just head down, you've got work to do. And they'll come over and be like, when was the last time you took a day off? Well, I have things to do. No, it's not what I said. When was the last time you took a day off? And you can think about that, because if you haven't had a genuine day off where you just get to follow your bliss for a minute, it's time for that to happen. If you have been in a situation where all you do is you feel like you're alone, you're slaving away, you're doing all the things, if someone offers you help, let them. You may have to give them a little, guidance along the way. That's fine. But why are you making yourself miserable doing everything yourself? Show other people, help them out, and see what happens. You might end up in just the right spot. But the benefactors are there offering you support and help. Are you willing to take their hand and say, yes, I need your help? That's not easy, but just like the I-ching says, keep the ego out of the way and you won't burn down your house. Your ego gets in the way, things are not going to go so great. And this is that little tap on the shoulder reminder from the tarot. Your message from the tarot is number 5, unity, which I believe would be the high priest in traditional tarot, or the Hierophant. Doing the right thing for the right reason. Compare traditional versus new approaches to see which works for you. A spiritually minded community. Is that right? Yeah, anyway. I can't remember. But this is what we're looking at, is doing the right thing for the right reason. This month is not about competing. It's not about proving yourself to the neighbors. It's not about, I'm going to be better than... You're competing against yourself, so cool it. And this unity is when you come to the understanding that we're all competing against ourselves. Just because there's been someone else who might be a little bit better in one aspect, what is this other aspect that you're doing better? They might be thinking that they have to try to keep up with you. But when we really break it down, we're all on the same journey here. It's called life. We're all here to learn our lessons so that we can go back to the spirit. That's what this is about, is when we understand we don't have to compete with each other for these things. We don't have to compete for our successes. Your success, I don't care what it is, if there's a monetary value, a person, or a place, your success is not going to be identical to anyone else's on the planet. Think about that. There's 7 billion, 8 billion people on the planet, and what you're hunting in life is not like anyone else's. You might have a same monetary value, but what you're going to do with it is different, meaning the money is just a tool to the success. And that's what this is wanting to remind you of. As you go through things, if you're authentic and you tap back into who you are, things tend to line up a little bit better. You still are going to have ups and downs. That's just life. But when you come to the conclusion by the end of August to look around and be like, actually, I needed that. I needed that tap on the shoulder, or sometimes that bop upside the head if you're like me. But when you have that happen, learn from it. Understand why. Use your discernment so that you can avoid those pitfalls next time. That's the purpose of the trials that we deal with in life, is so that we learn to not repeat them later. So with that, I will let you guys and gals go. Have a great rest of your month, and I will see you in the next video.